grind to the sun up. Who meant them talking on that side? What? Yeah. Who meant them talking on that side? Told man them shut up. Grind to the sun up. Grind. What? Who meant them talking on that side? You a joke made fun of.
Hey yo, what up, squad? Hey man, welcome back to HOODROK Entertainment, realest, dopest, most active reaction channel on YouTube. Bro, a lot of people been asking me to do a reaction on New Zealand, the geography now. I'm like, bro, you know, I'm from New Zealand, so it's not really that interesting to me. But yo, I'll do it anyway, cause give you a little bit of an insight into a bit of, you know, where I'm from, where I'm tapping in from and shit. Obviously it's not going to show you the hood and all of that shit, you know what I mean? It's geography now. So anyway, we're going to get into this, bro. There's not much else to say, but this is New Zealand. So if this is your first time visiting my channel, click up, squad up, tap, and whatever you want to call it, go ahead and do that. I do a lot of blazing on my channel, bro. Hey, yo, check out my putt. Look at my putt. You don't like that? You're probably like, what the fuck? Where's the rest of it? Nah, check this out. You don't like that? Yo, niggas like how that work? See that? Watch it. Just watch it carefully. Flip it closed. And it's a square. But it's magnetic. So you flip it upside down. And you pack that bitch. Yo. We're done with the can cone. Anyway, let's get into this, bro. Let's see what's up. I've watched this like twice already. You know what I mean? I've already watched this twice, like, but I haven't watched it for like a couple of years. I haven't watched it for like a year or two. So yeah, let's see what's up.
And really, only one word seems to come to mind. Tau matawhaka tangi hanga ko au o tamatea tsuri pu ka piki maunga horo nuku pokai whenua kita na tahu.
It's the longest word in the world. Right? I speak fluent Māori. And I still don't know what that means. I don't even know how to say that. I spoke Māori before I spoke English.
It's time to learn geography now!
Hey everyone, I'm your host Barbs. New Zealand is one of those places where a few people have made a powerful image for themselves. It's one of the last places on Earth to be discovered and inhabited by humans. And when they arrived, it was unlike anything anyone had ever seen. Mostly because there were these massive 12 feet tall bird monsters. We'll get into that in a bit. But first...
The more.
New Zealand is not only a key player in the ocean nations, but a geographic anomaly. As in, half the time when you look at artwork or decorations or newscasts or even educational books, New Zealand is forgotten from the map.
Facts. Facts. So,
New Zealand is not only a key player in the ocean nations, but a geographic anomaly. As in, half the time when you look at artwork or decorations or newscasts or even educational books...
Right, so there, we're supposed to be over here. We're supposed to be here. So if this side of the map was joined with that side of the map, we're actually off the coast of Peru. We're about here. Just below Australia, or just beside Australia. You know what I mean? Below, southeast of Australia.
New Zealand is forgotten from the map. Kiwis even joke about it. Even their government website 404 page not found website pokes fun at it. Anyway, New Zealand, or Aotearoa, is located in the southwestern Pacific Ocean, about 1,200 miles. Or
Aotearoa is the Māori version, Māori word for New Zealand. Right? I'm Māori. I'm a Māori Nigerian. So I'm Pacific Island Nigerian, African.
2,000 kilometers off the coast of Australia, and about 600 miles or 1,000 kilometers from the nearest major islands of Fiji, Tonga, and New Caledonia. Meaning, technically, France is their closest neighbor. The country is made up of two main large islands, aptly named the North Island, or Te Ika a Maui, which makes up about 42% of the landmass, yet holds about 3/4.
Te Ika a Maui. Ika is a fish. The fish of Maui. How funny is it that we called the place the Fish of Maui before there was even technology to tell us that the island was shaped like a fish? Think about that for a second. We called that island Te Ika a Maui, the Fish of Maui. Maui was a demigod. He's our version of Hercules. Right? And in our stories, we talk of Maui fishing up the North Island and the South Island, this one here, to Waiponamu is his boat. And he fished up. Now we've been telling this story longer than we even knew that the island was shaped like a fish. Trippy, right?
Quarters of the population, and the larger yet less populated South Island, or Te Waiponamu.
So, for instance, sorry I keep pausing it, but the reason why I'm doing this video is so you can get to know a little bit about myself as well. So, I was born here in Wellington, the most southern capital in the world, but I spent my childhood up around here, in a very cultural area of New Zealand. Now, I live down here.
Namu at about 56% of the landmass. The remaining 2-ish% of the landmass is made up of hundreds of interior and outlying islands, 33 main ones that are either around the main 2 islands, like the largest one, Stewart Island, just south of South Island. Then you have the outlying island chains, like the northernmost Kermadec Islands, the easternmost Chatham Islands, and the sub-Antarctic southernmost point, the Campbell Islands. The country is
Shout out to my brother. He's over in the Chatham Islands at the moment, working over there.
unitary state divided into 16 councils, 11 regional councils, and 5 unitary regional councils. The Chatham Islands act as their own special territorial authority. The second largest city, Wellington, is the capital, the southernmost capital in the
That's where I was
world.
born.
However, Auckland up north is the largest city, which holds about a third of the entire population of the country, with the largest and busiest
Facts.
airport, Auckland International. Otherwise, Christchurch on South Island is
And that's where I live now, Christchurch.
the third largest city and holds the second busiest airport, Christchurch International. But wait, that's not all. The sovereignty claim extends even further, and then you get the 3 New Zealand realm territories and free association island nations. These are Tokelau, the Cook Islands, and Niue. Tokelau is considered a non-self-governing dependent territory. It also has a territorial dispute with American Samoa over Swains Island, whereas the Cook Islands and Niue are labeled as self-governing states in free association with New Zealand. Finally, you have the Ross Dependency, which is New Zealand's claim to Antarctica, which of course under the Antarctic Treaty does not actually fall under their sovereignty, but you know, a lot of people like to say they have something they can't. For a nation that doesn't even show up half the time on maps, there's a lot going on here.
But wait, if New Zealand is just an island in the middle of the Pacific, which continent is New Zealand a part of?
Ah, good question. That is a question that has kind of stumped cartographers
We're
for
a part of
centuries.
our own continent, bro. We're not a part of any continent on this planet. We're a part of our own continent, and there's no one else on it but us. Facts.
In the simplest sense, categorically, New Zealand is part of the broader region known as Oceania, which is basically just Australia plus everything else in Melanesia, Micronesia, and Polynesia. Technically, Australia and New Zealand together are called Australasia. However, it's weird because New Zealand doesn't lie on the same continental shelf as Australia. This has led to the consideration of New Zealand belonging to a newer subregion known as
It ain't no consideration, bro. That's official, my nigga.
Zealandia,
Oh, shit.
classified by some dude in the 90s as either a continental fragment or a microcontinent made up of a
Microcontinent.
submerged continental crust shelf that expands all the way from New Caledonia to an empty spot in the ocean just south of the Campbell Islands. 93% of Zealandia is submerged, with New Zealand being the largest protruding segment. Either way, however you want to categorize it, New Zealand is kind of strange.
Wait, go back to the self-governing island.
That's
thing.
our
Do
God.
they belong
That's our guy right here, bro. The stoner. That's our guy.
New Zealand is kind of strange.
Wait, go back to the self-governing island thing. Do they belong to New Zealand, or are they
Yeah.
full
I forgot about this, and I didn't get it last time, so.
countries?
Good question. It's kind of like this. Okay, guys, look, the British just kind of put you under my jurisdiction, so I guess that means you're all New Zealand citizens, okay?
Yeah, but we all have our own languages and customs and want to write a constitution for ourselves with free association status. We're basically countries in our own right, but under your overarching sovereignty.
I always wondered why, because when I went to Fiji, I get it now. Like, we were using New Zealand currency, and we don't necessarily like. Well, you do need your passport and stuff like that, but it's different because when they stamp it with the Fiji New Zealand stamp. You know what I mean? It's trippy. I wondered why. I get it.
Sovereignty, I guess.
Like, your military can come in for defense, but otherwise we got everything else covered.
I mean, guys, I have less than 2,000 people on less than...
Why would you want our military for defense? What do you want? You want us to send out 4 frigates? You want us to send out 3 airplanes or our 6 rowboats with the homies on the back with the guns? Like, No, I'm joking, bro. We got the dopest SAS in the world.
5 square miles of land on 3 islands. I think I'll just become a dependent territory state.
All right, fair enough. 2 kind of countries with loose ties and 1 dependent territory country with stronger ties. Got it.
Plus, hey, I became the first completely solar-powered nation in the world.
Not exactly fully functional sovereign nation state by definition, but yeah, good for you. Some places of interest in
Yeah,
New
but
Zealand
good
might
for you.
include the
Good for
world's
you, bro.
steepest street at a gradient of 38
Yo.
degrees.
I've been to Dunedin a few times, but I never went to the street. But it's been the talk of New Zealand for a long time. So like, I mean, I know a lot about it, and I know people that have been there. And why the did you live there? Like, what? Why would you live there? I'm telling you, man. Like, imagine having to walk to school and home every day. Like, shit.
The National Museum, Auckland's Sky Tower, you can actually jump off of it. The Rotorua Geysers in traditional Māori village, Rainbow's End and Splash Planet, the International Antarctic Center, Hobbiton, so many wine fields like the ones in Marlborough,
Bruh.
90 Mile.
Bro, you don't need to go to that place to see a traditional Māori village, bro. Like, there's plenty of traditional Māori villages around New Zealand, but that place there, that specific tribe, right, because every tribe's got their own village, that tribe there open their village to the public, and they make money off it. Hey, they hustle. They do their thing. Shout out to Rotorua. You know what I mean? Shout out to Rotorua. They do their thing. They use the culture and they get money off it. Where I was raised, we're exactly the same, but we weren't. It wasn't like a performance thing, you know what I mean? Like you know what I'm saying? We just lived that way. That kind of shit.
Beach, which is actually only 56 miles, Waitomo Caves with glowworms, Frying
don't been
Pan
for
Lake,
that.
and the Meraki Spherical Boulders.
Been
And
there.
honestly, I could go on and on with all the natural wonders of this country, but that would take like 50 videos, and we gotta cram as much as we can in this one.
And bro, I'll tell you what, bro, everything that you see in this video, bro, it's as beautiful and as dope and as far as it looks. For real. This is a country that, and I live here. Most people that live here go, it's only New Zealand, bro. But, I understand, bro. I get it, right? And it might be because I'm a native from here that I love my land so much, but it's as beautiful as you see in the pictures, bro. On God.
Let's just talk about all the natural stuff of New Zealand, shall we? Now, New Zealand is an outdoors country, world-renowned for its mind-blowingly wonderful landscape displayed in a number of films and movies.
Fun fact, the Lord of the Rings gave them so much publicity and tourism money that they even have a Minister of the Rings in their parliament.
Oh, do they now?
You wrote the script for the episode, and I'm just reading off the teleprompter, so I figured you would know that.
I did. First of all, the country is located in the Ring of Fire on the convergence of the Pacific and Australian plates that creates the mountainous southern Alps of the southern island. Here you can find the tallest peak, Mount Cook or Alps,
So I live,
that creates the mountainous southern Alps of the southern island.
here's the Southern Alps here that he's talking about, alright? I live just here. This is where we're reacting from right now. I live about here. Alright, the beach is about a street, one, and then the beach, so there's one street over is the beach. And and then you've got forests and the mountains, you know what I mean? So where I live, you could drive to the mountains to go skiing, stop and go hunting for a deer or a wild pig, and then come down to the beach where it's going to be something like 25, 26 degrees Celsius and go for a swim all in one day. You know what I mean?
Island. Here you can find the tallest peak, Mount Cook or Aoraki, at over 12,000 feet or 3,700 meters, whereas across the Cook Strait, the smaller Kaweka Range can be found on the North Island. This, in return, makes the country subject to earthquakes and volcanic activity. There are about 83 known volcanoes of all types, and
And don't let that scare you, bro. In my whole lifetime, and for the last 3 generations, there's only ever been one volcano that erupted. It was this one here. And it spat out some smoke. It spat out some smoke. You know what I mean? No lava and shit. It spat out some smoke. A few rocks. Spat out a few rocks, but nothing major. And the last few, shit. That's the only one that I know of anyway.
largest active one being Ruapehu on North Island.
that's the one
Otherwise, you
there.
can see other volcanic wonders like the dormant Banks Peninsula
Yeah,
on South
I live out
Island
these
and
ways.
the eerily perfect circular Mount Taranaki on the west side of North Island. Just a skip away, you find the largest lake, Lake Taupo in the Taupo caldera, one of the largest supervolcanoes on Earth. From there, the lake is drained by the longest river of the country, the Waikato. Now, New Zealand is interesting because due to its shape, there is no part of the country that is more than about 80 miles or so from the ocean. The flatter valleys on the sides of the mountains are where most people live and produce crops and livestock. Skip a little further west and you get the least inhabited and difficult to access, but most breathtaking part of New Zealand, the Fjordland. Steep cliffs plunging into the Tasman Sea with...
That's a dope place to go boating. I've been boating around Fjordland. Far place to go, bro. Like, you know what I mean? Thing with New Zealand is everyone from New Zealand. It doesn't matter who you are, sportsman, businessman, gangster, rapper. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter what you do in New Zealand. Everyone loves nature. We all love the outdoors. It's what we do. You know what I mean? Like when me and my homies go blaze, we go find a lookout or something like that overlooks the ocean or something, because there's plenty of them not far from where you are, no matter where you are in the country. You know what I mean? You can always go down to a dope lake. You can go to a dope lookout overlooking the ocean. You can go to a dope lookout in the forest, bro, overlooking the rivers. You know what I mean? You can go to dope spots here in New Zealand and blaze. It's one of these things.
Milford Sound being the most popular spot and the only one accessible by road. New Zealand ranks as one of the top most landform diverse countries on Earth, having everything from alpine forests, glaciers, geothermal geysers. They even have a small desert in the middle of North Island. And on some of the coasts, you have tropical beaches with magnetic black sand containing magnetite. Seriously, I still have some. Check it out. This is from Piha Beach in North Island. Whoa, it sticks on. Now, the one thing about New Zealand that set it apart upon discovery is that other than 2 species of bat, the entire island had no mammals prior to human encounter. Now this—
You hear that? You hear that? No mammals. We don't have none. We don't got no reptiles and nothing like that. We don't get crocodiles. We don't get snakes. We don't get poisonous spiders. We don't get nothing like that. That's why New Zealand's such a bird haven. Because there's nothing here that can kill the birds, bro. You know what I mean?
This is usually the part where Noah comes in, but he had a scheduling conflict. They couldn't be here today, so therefore, I saw Min Random Hannah. Hannah, take it away.
The country is a bird haven with over 200 species, over half endemic to New Zealand. And the funny thing, many of which are flightless. It's like the flightless bird capital of the world. Species such as the kakapo, the world's only flightless nocturnal parrot, and they have more species of penguin than anywhere else on the planet. At one point, a long time ago, they used to have the moa, a 12-foot tall monster, until it was hunted by the native Māori to extinction.
My people ate them all. We ate them all, bro.
Then you have the national animal, the famous kiwi, a flightless bird which comes in 5 forms on both islands. Known for their hair-like feathers, long beaks with nostrils, making them some of the only few bird species that can smell. Otherwise,
there's only 2 other ones that can smell.
You have the kia, the world's only alpine parrot. And if you see one, they are curious creatures, unafraid of humans, that love to chew on shiny objects.
Little bastards, bro.
Seriously, those guys tried to steal my stuff one time.
And mine. And mine. And every other person I know that's come across them, their mischief, bro. Not only them, they'll rip the mirrors off your car. They'll even be in your car, bro. They'll be in your car, biting your seatbelt buckles and shit. Ripping your inside mirrors off in there because they love shiny shit, bro. It's funny as fuck.
Only alpine parrot.
They don't bite you or anything, they're just birds, you know?
Curious creatures, unafraid of humans, that love to chew on shiny objects or rubber.
Seriously, those guys tried to steal my stuff one time.
Outside of the bird world, you can find reptiles like the turatara, which has a 3rd parietal eye on the top of its head, or the giant weta, the heaviest insect on Earth. Resource-wise.
And what I mean by used to is you'll notice that there's no longer an eye there, but it could redevelop it over a long period of time. It used to have an eye there because once upon a time there was a big eagle. It's the biggest eagle in the world ever recorded. It used to be here in New Zealand. And they used to eat all the fuck like lizards and shit like that. You know what I mean?
Wise, the country is known for its huge dairy farming and livestock industry.
So they had to do it all, but
a precious stone.
That eagle hasn't been around for thousands of years, bro. So they haven't they haven't had to use that eye. I'm trying to sound high as fuck. So over generations and generations, They don't have that on them.
The country is known for its huge dairy farming and livestock industry. Jade or greenstone is a precious stone mined and sold here, as well often carved into jewelry or traditional Māori tools and ornaments. Besides all that, though, much of the country makes money through tourism, specifically outdoor tourism, specifically Queensland on South Island. This place offers everything from sky.
Yeah, I've talked to the subs about this before on my live streams. This is what I was talking about. When I was saying, you know, a lot of New Zealanders would go parachuting or paragliding, things like that here in New Zealand. Everyone does that shit, all outdoors people.
Tourism, specifically Queensland on South Island. This place offers everything from skydiving, paragliding, and zorbing, which, by the way, the Kiwis invented. And speaking of Kiwi inventions, food. Kiwis are without a doubt seafood folk.
Yes, we are.
Like gurnard, hoki, hake, hapuku, pawa, and crayfish are made into numerous dishes, cooked, raw, smoked, steamed, battered, and fried with chips. If that's not your thing, some non-fishy Kiwi dishes might include things like roast lamb, savory meat pies, hokey pokey ice cream, Kiwi-style burger, manuka honey, kumara, LNP drink, pavlova cake, and one of the most traditional Māori dishes, hangi.
Hey, I had hangi for dinner the other night.
Of cultural
And so I think I might have hangi for dinner tonight.
tradition, we go to...
Thank you, Hannah. Feel free to follow her on Instagram.
No problem.
Yeah, that's a thing now. Now, this is going to be the best part of the episode because the people of New Zealand, known as Kiwis, are the biggest treasure you'll find. First of all, the country has about 5 million people and often ranks as one of the top 3 ease of business index countries in the world with the least corruption.
Facts.
Somewhere around 74%, the country is made up primarily of peoples of European descent, mostly of English, Scottish, and Irish ancestry. About 15% of the country is native Māori, 7% Pacific Islander, and the rest are mostly Asian of various countries like China, Korea.
And by the way, Pacific Islanders, Māori are Pacific Islanders, alright? So all the native people of the Pacific are Pacific Islanders.
Native Māori, 7% Pacific Islander, and the rest are mostly Asian of various countries like China, Korea, and Japan. Yes, by the way, it's pronounced Māori, not Maori, Maori. They use the New Zealand dollar as their currency.
Māori.
They use the Type I plug outlet, and they drive
Māori,
on the left
bro.
side of the road. Now, we all know that English is the most widely spoken language in the country with a distinct Kiwi dialect. To outsiders, it sounds just like the Australian one, but they swear it's different. They have some distinct Kiwi words. Here's my Kiwi buddy Jared explaining.
Bro, this dude is whack. No one talks like this, bro. I don't even know why he's got this bit in here. Actually, we're gonna skip that because it's whack and it's cat. Because I don't talk like that. And I'm a native. So if you want to watch that bit, tap on that link below.
The 2 other official languages of New Zealand,
Sweet as.
Nonetheless, there are actually 2 other official languages of New Zealand, Māori and New Zealand Sign Language, making New Zealand the first country to adopt signing as an official language, even though only half of 1% knows it. Now let's talk about culture and the whole Māori thing. The Māori traditionally come from about 100 or so iwi, or tribes or peoples, spread throughout both islands. Most in the north part of the country, the largest being the Ngapuhi at over a...
So that's my tribe. Alright. This is my father's tribe, that's my tribe. And it's my mother's tribe, Ngāti Porou. So, my father's tribe, that's our crest. That's our coat of arms.
100,000 people. Their culture is a huge integral factor that plays into what it means to be Kiwi. I mean, instead of hello, you'll often hear the Māori word kia ora as a greeting. Most schools teach the Māori language in elementary years, and there are immersion schools as well. In addition, they have a few television channels and radio stations that speak almost entirely in Māori. Today, the majority of native speakers are found in the North Island, most heavily concentrated in the Northland and Gisborne and Bay of Plenty regions.
So,
and speaking of Māori, we cannot do this
like I was saying, the most heavily concentrated Māori speaking areas are where my dad's from, the Ngāpuhi, and where my mum's from, the Ngāti Porou. You know what I mean? So that's where I went to school, was all up here, which is why I spoke Māori before I spoke English. You know what I'm saying? So now you understand a little bit.
in the Northland and Gisborne and Bay of Plenty regions. And speaking of Māori, we cannot do this episode without talking about the haka. Almost everyone on the island knows one form of the traditional war dance performed by both men and women, known for its aggressive movements, loud
white,
chanting, and
Māori,
intimidating facial
black,
expressions. Very often
Chinese,
it's performed at
everyone
sporting
knows
events. The haka is not
We'll go back. Take a break.
War dance performed by both men and women, known for its aggressive movements, loud chanting, and intimidating facial expressions. Very often it's performed at sporting events. The haka is not only used at games or as a means to intimidate though. It can be used in a variety of situations, ranging from birthday parties, funerals, even weddings, where the people celebrate the union of two people happily, and everyone takes part in it, whether you are ethnically Māori or non-Māori.
Exactly.
It's a tradition that really unites everyone on the island, regardless of race. Pretty cool, right? And now let's talk
Bang on, bro. Bang
about
on.
tattoos. And actually, let's have another co-host do this.
Hey, let's talk about tattoos. Let's get ready.
See, Hannah already did one. Why not Ken?
Let's get ready.
All right, Ken, take it away.
So, before he talks about it, we'll get into mine. You see the left side, and you see the right side. If I bring the camera closer, you'll see that inside these designs are smaller designs, but they're different on each side. You can't see them properly on the camera, but damn, you see where I got stabbed a couple of times. But the tattoos, one side's got feathers, the other side's got scales. Now you'll hear him explain why both sides are different, alright? Let's go.
You might occasionally come across someone with kirituhi, or skin art, or tamoko, which are face tattoos. There's so much information that goes into this, but basically, Māori tradition did not have a specific written script. Instead, they use a documented information and history through a series of wood carvings and tattoos. No two are alike, as each person's tattoos...
See, so if you're going close, you'll see that in here he has small designs. But you can't really see them on in photos, you know what I mean?
Specific story of who they were. Generally, the left side is no.
Take it back, take it
they
back.
use a documented information and history through a series of wood carvings and tattoos. No two are alike, as each person's tattoos told a specific story of who they were. Generally, the left side is reserved for the father's lineage, and the right side the mother's. The patterns can describe everything from tribe, rank, work, expertise, athletic accomplishments, and so on. In other news, Kiwis are pretty athletic. You cannot talk about New Zealand without mentioning rugby. They are three-time World Cup championship winners, and often when they don't win, they place in the top three.
Everyone in New Zealand plays rugby. Well, it's our national sport. It's like football over in Europe. Right? Everyone plays from the age of 5. I started playing when I was 7. It was a little bit... We didn't play... Back then, you had to be 7. So I started playing when I was 7 years old. Right up to this day.
Thank you, Ken. Feel free to follow him on Instagram. And now it's time to talk about history. In the quickest way I can summarize it: Bird Island, no humans. Māori come in from Polynesia, maybe sometime around the 1200s. Māori Pa settlements established. Moa bird is hunted to extinction. Tribal battles for land. Abel Tasman becomes the first European to come in contact. They kind of forget about it until the British come in by like 100 years later. For a while, they just kind of traded with the Māori. Intertribal wars with the new weapons that they acquired by the Europeans. Missionaries, British colony, New Zealand wars.
See what the Europeans do? Turn up. Hookies all up with guns, watch us all kill each other. They didn't just do that in America, bro. They didn't just do that in America. You're forgetting a bit where they enslaved us.
Forget about it until the British come in by like 100 years later. For a while, they just kind of traded with the Māori. Intertribal wars with the new weapons that they acquired by the Europeans. Missionaries, British colony, New Zealand wars, Treaty of Waitangi, controversy with mistranslation. Self-government within the British Empire, women's suffrage, massive immigration wave. World War I, they play a role in Pacific warfare against German-occupied Samoa. World War II, they play a role again in the Pacific, but this time against the Japanese and Papua New Guinea. Statute of Westminster Adoption Act, Muldoon years, 1980 reforms, 1990s and early 2000s, business really starts to boom. Earthquake in Christchurch. Some notable people from New Zealand.
Rest in peace to everyone in that earthquake too. I lost my home. We lost our home in that earthquake. You know what I mean? We had to live out of a friend's sleep out for 4 years after that. Right, luckily we bought ourselves a new house, all of that stuff. But yeah, I live in Christchurch where the earthquake happened. Yeah, crazy.
New Zealand or of Kiwi descent might include people like Hongihika, Honeheke, Te Puea Herangi, Maui Pomare, Potatau Te Ferofero, Ernest Rutherford, Kate Shepherd,
Hey, I like his effort. bro. I'm not gonna say anything about his his pronunciation and his accent with the Māori words, because he's doing a hell of a better job than some of the Europeans do that actually live here. You know what I mean?
Pomare, Potatau Te Ferro, Ernest Rutherford, Kate Shepard, Sir Apirana Ngata, Sir Edmund Hillary, Peter Jackson, Jacinda Ardern, Russell Crowe,
Shout out Jacinda.
Lomu, Sir Colin Meads, Dame Fina Cooper, Flight of the Conchords, Bruce McLaren, Catherine Mansfield, Lord, and the meme page Dolan Dark, I was told. Yeah, quite a few cool Kiwis out there. Which brings us to our next segment, the
I forgot about that.
Kiwi
Never mind.
They're friends. The friend zone. Alright, diplomatically speaking, New Zealand, for lack of a better term, is basically like Australia's Canada. They get along with nearly everyone, and unless if it's a rugby match, it's hard to harbor any animosity towards them. And even if it is a rugby match, it's like, okay, you guys can win. Just do that haka thing again. First of all, as part of numerous international organizations, New Zealand has harnessed an international network of alliances since its inception. For one, South Africa, Argentina, Uruguay, and Chile have had close links as members of the Convention for the Conservation of Antarctic Marine Living Resources. These 5 nations kind of act as like the southern gateways to Antarctica, and they hold a high level of...
Well, we're better. We're the closest country to Antarctica. We better, you know what I mean? Shit.
responsibility when it comes to monitoring the South Seas. China has an
interesting,
kind of good but kind of controversial relationship with New Zealand. Not only have Chinese immigrants been living in New Zealand since the 19th century, but in 2008 a bold move with a free trade agreement was established, and today they are the second largest import and export partner. The problem is the housing market. Many Chinese investors have bought out property in metropolitan areas that remain unused and empty for the purpose of real estate appreciation.
They don't live in it. These motherfuckers.
This has left many Kiwis unable to live in the houses in their own country. This has frustrated many of them for a long time, leaving them to ask the government for reforms in foreign investment policy. As a former British colony,
it's not like that anymore. And they
always been closely linked to the UK, and UK citizens, often Scottish, choose to migrate and live in New Zealand. Problem is distance. New Zealand is one of the furthest members in the Commonwealth from the UK, and over time the UK relations waned as the UK paid more attention to the EU. Nonetheless, they've grown up, don't need to hold mommy's hand anymore, and they can handle their own affairs. Then we get to the quadfecta, the USA, Canada, and Australia. There is somewhat of an unspoken, unbreakable bond between these four. New Zealand has fought alongside the US in almost every major global event from the 20th century and on. There was a slight hiccup in the end.
You hear that?
There is somewhat of an unspoken, unbreakable bond between these four. New Zealand has fought alongside the US in almost every major global event.
And this is why I say when people jump on my live streams and they're like, bro, have you heard of the rapper blah blah from America? I'm like, bro, I grew up on American hip hop. The TV we watch, like our free-to-air TV, is American television. We get our own shows, obviously, like, you know, we've got our own TV channels and that, but the most watched shows in New Zealand are American shows, bro. The most listened to music in New Zealand is American hip-hop. Has been since the birth of hip-hop. You know what I mean?
FECTA, the USA, Canada, and Australia. There is somewhat of an unspoken, unbreakable bond between these four. New Zealand has fought alongside the US in almost every major global event from the 20th century and on. There was a slight hiccup in the ANZUS Security Treaty in the 80s in which they decided to initiate a nuclear-free zone in their territorial waters. Nonetheless, relations are still—
You hear that? Nuclear-free zone, motherfuckers. We didn't play that shit down here. We didn't play that shit down here. We're in New Zealand, bro. We're one of the most fertile countries on the planet. We don't do that drilling shit. We don't drill for oil off our coastlines. We've banned whaling in our waters. We have nuclear-free test zones in our waters. We're the purest country on the planet, bro. So I know how lucky I am that I live here.
Which they decided to initiate a nuclear-free zone in their territorial waters. Nonetheless, relations are still strong and they are considered one of the closest allies. Canada and New Zealand are very close though. They both think very similarly and are—
That's why if you fuck with New Zealand, you gotta fuck with Canada, America, and Great Britain. You don't wanna fuck with New Zealand, trust me. Not only that, we are the furthest country away from anybody, and we're not landlocked, so you need a navy to fuck with our country. That's why you ain't even gonna fuck with New Zealand. That's why the whole fucking world's in more danger than we will ever be. Because New Zealand is that place. You know what I'm saying?
Are both Commonwealth nations with the same queen as their technical head of state. Both share similar views on a variety of issues. Both are the smaller versions of a bigger neighbor.
You couldn't even— and the reason why people go, yeah, but they can send missiles, not to New Zealand. Do you know how far away we are? You wouldn't make it. That's why you need a navy, because you'll need navy vessels to fire those things from, even if you want to hit New Zealand, you know what I mean? And you ain't even going to get near here to fire that shit. Like, you gotta be kidding me.
That gets all the attention. Business, trade, and tourism is strong between them, and in a way they kind of love each other for all these reasons. When it comes to their best friend, however, as much as they love to poke fun, mock, ridicule, and spit on each other, they cannot deny that Australia is the closest. Australia even has
I love Australia, but fuck y'all niggas.
a clause in its constitution that allows New Zealand to become a part of their country if they should ever want to for whatever reason. Although New Zealand is like, thanks, but no. Australia is not only the largest trading and business partner, but also has the closest history and culture. The two have a unique Trans-Tasman Agreement that states that citizens of each country can migrate and have automatic residency. The two go hand in hand, however, when Australia isn't looking, Canada kind of slips in and they kind of go off on secret dates. In conclusion, as humanity's last major expedition, you can imagine how the first settlers must have felt when they approached on this unknown world of glaciers, volcanoes, glowing caves, geysers, and giant 12-foot tall bird monsters. You don't need Lord of the Rings. New Zealand already is a real-life fantasy. Stay tuned. Nicaragua is coming up next.
Good luck, Nicaragua. Good luck beating that. No, I'm playing. That was fire as hell. Every time. Yo, it's the third time I watched it. Just as good as the first. Hey, you know what? That's a little bit about New Zealand and a little bit about myself in between. Hey, sorry it took so long, but shit, I'm high as hell. I hope you enjoyed that, man. Thanks for all the support. Stay safe, stay dangerous. We out. Peace.